LCARA invades the Cincinnati Hamfest, and look what we find. QRZ and a beta of the real-time QSO manager. Let's check it out.
I expect a link to this when this gets posted. Come on.
Welcome back to Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association. I'm KY4BDP, and today we're with QRZ. Steve here, KF8 Kilo India. And Steve, you've got an interesting beta coming online, or is currently in process at the moment. Can you tell us a little bit of what QRZ is doing with this beta?
Absolutely. So we are just about 3 days into the beta test right this second. And what we've done is we're adding a tool and we're doing a test with that tool. The tool is called the Real-Time QSO Manager.
Okay.
We call it RTQM for short. And the basic intention behind the tool is to facilitate calling CQ, for lack of a better description. We all, any of us that have worked any HF over time, we've certainly been in a case where we've had to get on the frequency and we call CQ, and maybe we call CQ for an hour and we don't get any answers. And then, of course, we know that's frustrating. It's worse if it's a weird time of day for wherever the propagation is, if the propagation's bad, all those sorts of things. So what we've developed is we've developed this tool, the RTQM tool, and it's a mechanism at its base. It's a mechanism to be able to call CQ in essentially an electronic format, where we create what we refer to as an operating session. So I might, for example, add a new operating session where I would select my, of course, my call sign is going to default there. I might select the grid square. Let's say that I'm on 80 meters. I'm going to run single sideband. And maybe I'm at 3.5 megahertz. Whoops. And I'm going to put a comment in there and say that I'm listening, if I spell it right. So I've created my operating session. I'm going to say, okay, that's there, and it's going to give me a confirmation, and then that's going to put me on the world map. And of course, it's a little crowded because there's a bunch of them out there. But if we zoom in a little bit on my area, there's my operating session on the world map. The way the system is set up, there is bands are organized by group. The tool supports every amateur band worldwide. So it'll even support some of the bands that are not available in the United States. The color code to the groups is down there at the bottom, and that gives you, the color code gives you a relative indication of what the group of frequencies that the operating session is in. The icon gives you a loose indication of what mode the person is operating. So in a at a quick glance, we can see that that's an HF operator working a voice mode. If we click on it at this point, then we get a pop-up that gives us a little bit more detail, and it says, hey, there's KF8KI, he's at EM79RJ on 80 meters at 3.5 megahertz working single sideband. With some comments on there. One of the things that's been popular, I think it's kind of cool, some of our beta testers have put on there, hey, I'm working and I'm just listening to the radio. If you want to talk to me, give me a call. And we've already had a bunch of QSOs that have been worked that way. So that's one of the ways that you might use that tool. Some of our testers do exactly that. They just put it out there and then they listen. Some of our testers actually put it out there and still call CQ. We've had a couple of our testers use it to also put word of their POTA activation out there. So there's a lot of different potential ways that you can use it. Some of the ways that our beta testers are already using it, we haven't even thought of. We had a case that I observed yesterday. My perception of the tool would be for spotting the transmission activity, but we had one user that tried to work another user, actually put up a session for his chasing activity, and then you can actually make these changes to this operating session, whether you want to change the frequency, update the comments. These guys were updating the comments back and forth, which update in real time, updating the comments back and forth to try to coordinate a QSO between the two of them with their operating session comments. And they ended up, they tried a couple of times on 20 meters. They switched over to 15 meters
I see. Yes.
and actually did some interaction. So that actually started a discussion among the QRZ staff of, hey, do we need to add some sort of a chat sort of a tool?
Right.
So to kind of answer your question, what we're looking for is beta testers that are actually going to actively use the tool. Now, I personally envision that the tool is going to get more use on HF than on VHF, but who's to say? I mean, I have a session on the actual beta site because I'm listening on 652. Nobody's called me yet, but it's early. So again, all of the bands are supported, all of the modes are supported. And then we're looking for testers that are actually going to use it. They're going to interact with other testers, other users of it, post their own sessions, and then give us some feedback on it, how it looks, how it works, what other features we need. We're currently working on, right now, the basic feature set is you can post the operating session, you can look up the other user's call sign. So if you actually click on the call sign in the link on the session, it'll bring up the user's QRZ page in another window. There's a mechanism to actually create a log entry if you actually work the user.
Right.
The other concept that's worth actually sharing is the premise is based on the freshness of the data.
Okay.
And so when I create an operating session, or anyone else creates an operating session, that operating session is only valid for 30 minutes.
Okay.
Unless there's interaction with the operating session. Now that interaction can take the form of me getting back on there and saying, hey, I'm still on the air.
Yes.
Maybe I changed frequencies or I changed bands, but I've interacted with the operating session. Or it can take the form of another operator saying, hey, I heard this operator on the air, and actually marking that they heard the operator on the air. And so as you go through and if I go back to the other, the demo version of it that we were looking at, let me find it, there it is. Nope, I apologize, I was on the right one to begin with. There we go. So if you look at the various icons that are on there, they all have various different intensities. And so
a freshness color.
Exactly. And so when the operating session is new or fresh, it shows at 100%. As it ages, it fades out.
It starts to go transparent.
It just starts to go transparent. So let's pick one of these. I'm going to say, okay, here's this operator that's on here. VE7 ARA is on there. I'm going to this is a fictitious site, so a test site. So I'm going to just say, hey, I heard him. It's going to ask me to confirm that I really heard him through an RF receiver at my location and not, say, an internet SDR.
Right.
Because we want to try to be able to get some propagation information out of this. So it's asking me to confirm that. Once I confirm it, it'll say, yes, it's confirmed. You'll see the herd count increase, and the icon has now gone back to 100% because my interaction with that operator's operating session has indicated that data is fresh. So that's kind of the tool. That's what we're working on. Like I said, third day of the beta test. We've got about 300, and actually after today's HamFest, we have about 304 beta testers.
Right.
Because everybody says, hey, what's new at QRZ? And they get the spiel. And there's a bunch of them that said, sign me up. We're not capping the beta test. The idea is we want as many people to use it as possible.
Sure.
The only real requirement is that you're actually going to use it, that you're a QRZ member. You don't have to be a subscriber or any of that sort of thing.
Right.
They can contact me, Kilo Foxtrot 8 Kilo India. My information's good on QRZ, and they can contact me directly and say, hey, I'm in, put me in the beta test, and I'll get them set up. We do have an active forum for the beta test users. I interact in that forum I'm the supervisor of the beta test activity, and then interact in that forum as much as I possibly can. So it's a very active forum where we're discussing it. And we're trying to come up with a tool that is going to be, of value to users and get their feedback on its creation.
I think it's a great idea, and I'll be honest with you, if you get that chat incorporated where you can have two people coordinating what they're doing it indirectly now with just the comments.
Right.
That would be pretty cool. And then Chris and I on the LCARA channel, we've utilized other, we'll say, activations as a way to test antennas, things like that. Like we'll go hunting for an activation to see if we can actually reach out and touch any of these parks or whatever, just to test out an antenna.
Absolutely.
This can be used for something very similar, where you might be testing out your rig, your location, your power, your QRP, whatever it is, and really let people know you're there.
Well, one of the other ways that it was envisioned that you might potentially use it is, let's say, of course, none of us has to have code anymore.
Right.
But many people actually want to learn code, get into code, start using code, and they immediately start tuning to the code portions of the band, listening to these guys sending at 18 or 20 words a minute and going, that ain't happening. You could actually put yourself out there and say, hey, I want to work a CW QSO, but I want to work a slow QSO,
right.
10, 12 words a minute, whatever. We've had a bunch of them posted that way, and I've gotten some feedback that there have been some QSOs that have happened as a result of that.
Right.
So there's a lot of flexibility in how you might work the tool. Or how you might utilize the tool. And again, that's one of the things that we're looking for in the beta testers is, don't stick to the script. Here's what we had in mind when we created it. Here's what it'll do. How are you going to use it?
Right.
And that's what we're looking for.
Steve, thank you so much for letting us know about the beta test today.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it.
Really wish you luck with this, and I'd say this is going to really take off. I'm KY4 BDP Brian with Steve, KF8KI. And we've got the QRZ real-time QSO manager.